Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and to another Sunday video. Not a Books Weekly this week, simply because I read one book last week. I was on book tour with my new little Dutch non-fiction book, and I had a reading every day, and I had radio and stuff, and I didn't read. I was just too tired. So it doesn't make sense to do a Books Weekly. So instead I thought I do another one of the tags that are piling up. And fittingly enough, this is the TBR Book Tag, so it's all about books that need to be read. I was tagged by Steve over at Steve Donahue again, and the original tag is a tag on a blog by Rachel, and I will leave links to both the channel and the blog down below in the description box. Okay, let's get started. First question, how do you keep track of your TBR pile? What I do is the physical books I have in the other book room, where I normally sit down and read, or lie down and read. If you're following my channel, I know that I prefer lying down when I read. I have a little bookcase where I keep all the books that I buy or that I get as gifts that are unread. So I keep them non-fiction, fiction in English, fiction in German, and so I can see the books that are yet unread. For the ebooks, I have a file on my Kindle, to be read, unread books, map, a little folder, and then I have also, because I get a lot of books through NetGalley, I keep them in order of the publication date, because NetGalley is there are new books to be published, so I keep them on the date of the publication to read them in that order. Question 2, is your TBR mostly physical books or ebooks? So printed books or ebooks? I would say until maybe about a year ago, most of my books were print books, so on that bookshelf in the other room. But since I decided that I want to read new fiction and became a member of NetGalley, I have a lot of ebooks also to be read. So at the moment, now I would say it's about 50-50. So 50% print and 50% ebook. Question number 3, how do you determine which book from your TBR pile to read next? Well, that depends. With the NetGalley books, I tend to read them and organize, as I said, I organize them by publication date, and so I read them in the month or that they are published, or just before or just after, because I want to get a review up, or either here on BookTube or a written review for NetGalley, so that's fairly easy. With the physical TBR pile and the Kindle books that are not NetGalley books, I just, whenever I, want something to read, then I go either to the bookshelf or I browse through the folder in the Kindle, and then I take whatever at that moment I think I'm in the mood for. Question number 5, a book that has been on your TBR pile the longest. Well, I'm not 100% sure. I looked at the shelf in the other room and folder on the Kindle, and I think it's this one, Willa Cather, The Professor's House. I've read a couple of her books. This one was published in 1925, and I really liked her, and I think this one is probably the oldest on the TBR, and for some reason I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm sure I will soon. Question number 6, a book that you recently added to your TBR, and I think the last book that I added to the physical TBR, because the NetGalley, I don't think I want to talk about that, because new books are coming in all the time, because new books are published all the time. But the last one I bought is this one, Carol Shields, Larry's Party. I was looking for another book by Carol Shields, the Stone Diaries, for which she won the Pulitzer Prize in 1995. in a used bookstore, and they didn't have it, but they had this one. And as I wanted to read more books by Carol Shields, I picked this one up. Carol Shields is an American author, for those who don't know. She died in 2003, and as I said, she won the Pulitzer in '95. And this one sounded interesting. The Odyssey of a Modern Man. It was published 20 years ago, so in 1997. And I flipped through, read a couple of pages, and it caught my interest. So that's the latest addition to my TBR. Question 6, a book that's on your TBR solely, strictly because of the beautiful cover. None. I have to admit that I sometimes buy a book, or at least that my interest in the first 10 seconds is triggered by a cover that I really like, but then I always, pick the book up, read the back, read a couple of pages, and I don't buy it just because of the cover. It's more that sometimes when you browse, you look at a book and the cover really strikes you, and then you pick it up. But there's no book on my TBR solely because of the beautiful cover. Question number 7, a book on your TBR that you're not planning on reading. Well, that's a bit of an odd question, because if it's on the TBR to be read, then I want to read it, and I don't keep books on there that I don't plan on reading. But when I looked at the physical TBR pile in the little bookshelf in the other room, I came across this one, Doris Lessing, Shikasta. That's the first one in her science fiction series. And I liked it very much when I read it the first time, and I thought this cover was really beautiful, so I wanted this edition. But I'm certainly not going to read this edition ever, because I mean, look at the font. It's horrible. It's like sort of a bold font, and it's very, dense, and I think it's impossible to read if you look at that. So this is a book that I want to reread, but I will look for a different edition, because this is absolutely unreadable. But I will keep it because I like the cover, I like the edition, how it looks from the outside. But I will read a different edition. Question 8, an unpublished book on your TBR that you are excited for. Well, most of the unpublished books that I get are not ARCs, so not printed ARCs, but NetGalley. And the latest that I got just last week, I'm really excited for, and that's the new novel by Celeste Ng. She's of course famous for Everything I Never Told You. She published that debut novel in 2014. I liked it. I didn't love it as much as many other people out there, but I thought she was a very promising writer, so I'm curious to see her next book, Little Fires Everywhere. I ordered it, requested it through NetGalley. It will come out in September. It's about two women, basically, one playing by the rules and one doesn't, and there's a custody battle going on. But I ordered it mainly because I'm interested in her second book, and whether she, lived up to the promise that I saw in her, even though I didn't love Everything I Never Told You. I wasn't over the moon by it, but I'm still interested in her new book. So that's a book not yet published that I'm excited for. Question 10, a book on your TBR that basically everyone read but you. Well, there are a couple of Ellie Smith books on my TBR. How to Be Both, Autumn. I read one Ellie Smith book so far, shame on me, and that was The Accidental, and I DNF'd it. I didn't get along with that book at all. But Ellie Smith, of course, is a British writer, very famous, and a lot of people really love her books, and especially How to Be Both, and also her newest, her latest, Autumn, got a lot of praise. But I don't know. I didn't get along with the first book, and so the other books that I have are on the TBR, waiting to be read at some point, I hope. Question 10, a book on your TBR that everyone recommended to you. Well, probably not everyone, but it's another book that a lot of people I trust really liked. I got the book got recommended to me, at least by a lot of people, not by everybody, but by a lot of people, and that's this one. Put it here, Edna O'Brien, Little Red Chairs. This book is about the the war in ex-Yugoslavia, or at least the aftermath of the war. And I don't know, I started it a couple of times, but as a lawyer, I did cases for victims of the slaughter and the genocide in ex-Yugoslavia and former Yugoslavia. And somehow I think I need more time to get a little distance to read about it. So that's why I'm sure it's a good book, and I'm fairly certain that I will like it. But it has to wait a little. But that's a book that was recommended to me, certainly by other booktubers. Conrad over at 7 Days at Sea really loved it, and I trust his judgment. So Conrad, I will get to this book soon, and I think Camille, from what Camille reads, also loved it. But I just have to wait a little bit. Question 11. A book on your TBR that you are dying to read. Well, the books are on my TBR because I want to read them all, so there's nothing on there that I don't want to read. But one of the also fairly new editions, that's this one, not The Mockingbird Next Door by Maya Mills, and it's the life of Harper Lee, who obviously wrote To Kill a Mockingbird. And I also found this in a used bookstore not long ago in Amsterdam. And as you know, if you follow my channel, I really love To Kill a Mockingbird. I used it all the time when I was teaching young law students about the ethics of being a lawyer. Atticus Finch, the main character in To Kill a Mockingbird. And when I saw this, I think a month or two ago, I was really excited. So I hope to get to this one rather sooner than later. Last question, number 12. How many books are on your TBR? Well, in the physical TBR pile on the bookshelf is roughly 65 books. The NetGalley, like I said, that varies, but there are always around 30 books on there, because there are also books on there now that will come out only in September or in October or even later, and I will not read them until they come out. I also have want to read list in Goodreads, and that's I think 400 or something, but I keep that list on Goodreads more as a suggestion list. So a book that I come across either on Goodreads or on Amazon or through BookTube, or I see in a bookstore and I think, oh well, that looks interesting, I mark it as want to read on Goodreads. But that's not, I don't call that a TBR pile, because sometimes I clean up that file every once in a while, because then I lose interest, or I started reading the book, flipped through it, and I didn't like it as much as I thought, so I'm not going to read it. So I don't think, I don't consider the Goodreads want to read books as a TBR. So I only counted the physical books in the other room and the NetGalley Kindle books, and together it's about 100 books, I would say. Well, that was it for the TBR book tag. I'm not going to tag anyone because Steve in his video already tagged everybody, and I think this tag has been around for some time, so you probably have done it. But if you didn't, and if you like it, and it's really a fun tag to do, please consider yourself tagged. Well, this was it for today. No Books Weekly, but a tag. I hope you've enjoyed it nevertheless. Thank you very much for watching. Talk to me in the comments about the books that I've mentioned, or about other books or other things that you like to talk to me about. And I'll see you all again soon in my next video. Bye-bye.